Well, hello everyone, and welcome to an instructional video on how to combat the new UU threats that have dropped from OU with Smogon's new, I don't know, tier determining method or whatever they're using. About a dozen Pokemon from OU have fallen to UU, and everyone's kind of freaking out, not wanting to play UU, saying that stuff is, these threats are really dangerous, probably too, powerful for the tier, and they want stuff to be banned. And I'm going to give you guys 6 Pokemon in particular that counter these new dangerous threats. There are a few threats that really aren't that hard to play around, like Starmie, for instance. Umbreon pretty much hard counters that all day. Stuff like that. I won't go over that, but I'll go over the things that seem more immediately threatening, immediately annoying, immediately game-breaking, like Salamence and Klefki and Sableye and Cloyster and Trevenant, stuff like that. Those really, really dangerous things we're going to go over. 6 Pokemon that stop those completely, or stop those really well, or check those, or whatever. And the first Pokemon we're going to go over, probably the most important out of all of these 6, is Xatu. Xatu is pretty much the perfect counter to Klefki, the perfect counter to Smeargle, and the perfect counter to Sableye. They just cannot touch this thing. It's also a decent counter to Trevenant, but since Trevenant is part Ghost type and usually carries Shadow Claw, even though it's not invested in attack and we are invested in defense, it's going to do decent damage and we can't do much back to it, so we'll cover Trevenant a little later on. But Xatu is a fantastic check to Smeargle, Klefki, and Sableye. I mean, with Magic Bounce, they pretty much can do nothing to you, except maybe hit you with a weak Foul Play, but since your attack is so low and we are invested in defense, it's not going to do that much. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. You can just focus on roosting, if they do get a crit with Foul Play or whatever. But they cannot set up spikes on you. They cannot go for Swagger or Thunder Wave or any of that crap without it being bounced back to them and affecting them. So if you really hate those things, run Xatu, especially Smeargle. Smeargle is so predictable that it's really easy to play around. Like, you don't even need a Xatu if you want to play around it. You can just lead with something that's faster and has substitute, and Smeargle can do nothing. He can set up hazards and stuff, but if you have, I don't know, a Kangaskhan with substitute, you can just power up punch on it. Usually has focus sash. You can get 2 boosts off of it just like that, and then you have 2 other attacking moves there, and you can wreak havoc on the enemy team. And it probably is not going to be worth that guy's time to set up a few hazards and then get owned by a +2 Kangaskhan or something with Scrappy, so you can hit ghosts, of course. But yeah, just anything faster with sub, really. Anything that is immune to Spore. They do carry Dark Void, however, or so something like Houndoom with Early Bird could be a very good lead, switch in, whatever. You could Nasty Plot and then go from there if you're the Mega variant, and then a Mega Evolve when the time comes and you're not susceptible to sleep or whatever. But yeah, those are just some, examples. The next thing is to counter the very dangerous Cloyster. Now, Cloyster is super dangerous just because there's no really common Scarfer in UU that outspeeds it, and most priority attacks are physical, and Cloyster has a very nice physical defense stat. Special defense is garbage. There are not that many Pokemon that can run Vacuum Wave effectively, or at least that are really good in UU. Like Toxicroak can, but a special attacking Toxicroak is just kind of gimmicky, and if you're running it just for Cloyster, it's probably going to hurt you if there is no Cloyster on the enemy team, more so than help you. But Aggron checks Cloyster really well. The only thing Aggron has to worry about is if Cloyster is like a mixed variant and has Hydro Pump, but any physical hit Cloyster wants to deal out is not going to do that much to Mega Aggron, even not invested in defense. You can invest in special defense if you are worried about Hydro Pump mixed variants or whatever. But in general, those aren't really that common. They're mainly physical with Rock Blast, and you can check that all day and then wear it down with T-Wave, Heavy Slam, whatever you want to do. Mega Aggron's also a great check to Choice Scarf Salamence. You have to watch out for Fire Blast, but if it's like locked into Outrage, you can just come in and kill it in one hit with Ice Punch, There's also the threat of Dragon Dance Salamence. This is a decent check, not amazing because they do like to carry Fire Blast with Life Orb, which is a 2-hit KO, but you can OHKO it with Ice Punch if you are at full health and can take that comfortably. Something else that's a really good Cloyster Salamence counter is Mega Blastoise, specifically defensive. You can run like an offensive one because its natural bulk's so good, but physically defensive Blastoise is probably an even better check than Mega Aggron because it's just so bulky on both sides, It can scald stuff for utility, and then when something dangerous like Salamence comes in, tries to set up on your face, or sets up before you come in, you can Ice Beam it for the OHKO, and you can Aura Sphere Cloyster for the OHKO, and they really can't do much back to you. They can maybe take off 50%, maybe like Life Orb Salamence can take off 50% of your life, but Cloyster is really not an issue with Mega Blastoise, and Salamence is really not an issue as long as Mega Blastoise is healthy. Really good counters to these as well are Quagsire. Quagsire with Unaware pretty much laughs at any Salamence because the only special move it usually runs is Fire Blast if it's running like a DD set, And you resist that, and all of its physical moves really won't hurt you that much. You can just recover stall until it gets confused by Outrage. You can Toxic it, you can Ice Punch it. With the Unaware ability, it doesn't matter how much it sets up. It's not going to matter because, the Unaware ability is amazing. If you don't know what it does, it ignores the opposing Pokemon's stat changes. So Quagsire is a fantastic Cloyster and fantastic Salamence check. Salamence is so dangerous, though, because it can run so many different sets. It can run a Choice Scarf set, it can run a Dragon Dance set, but probably the most dangerous Salamence set of all is the Mix Mints set. This is a mixed attacking Salamence meant to hit hard on both sides and take out things that would normally counter it, like, for instance, Mega Blastoise, Mega Aggron, Quagsire. What it is essentially like a Salamence invested in both special attack and attack with Draco Meteor to hit all of these things hard right here. Fire Blast to hit Mega Aggron hard, and like for coverage it has like Earthquake, to hit like specially defensive Florges hard, and like usually Roost in the last spot, or it could even run like Steel Wing or something to hit Florges hard. But a good counter to that set in particular is physically defensive Florges. Now, you can take a Steel Wing, not that well, but you can take it and Moonblast back for the OHKO. Physically defensive Florges pretty much handles any variant of Salamence, especially the Mix Mint set, which is so dangerous. Mix Mints is going to be a problem if you don't have this particular set. You're going to have to predict very well to play around that, or just try to revenge kill with like, a Scarfer that's faster or whatever. But this particular Florges handles pretty much any Salamence variant, even at +1. You can take pretty much anything comfortably. This is especially amazing at taking on Mix Mints, though. So if you're having trouble with Mix Mints on your team, throw this physically defensive Florges on. It's got enough special defense naturally to take anything it wants to dish out, and it's got enough physical defense invested to take like an Earthquake, Life Orb Earthquake easy, and its stab moves are non-existent. In the rare event that it's running like Steel Wing or Iron Tail, you should be able to take one with this set and then Moonblast and kill it. And Iron Tail is so unreliable anyway, and not many people are going to run it. So there's that. The final threat, though, that's a real pain in the ass because there's no Clefable, which was a hard counter to this thing in OU. But Trevenant is a pain in the ass. There are two sets it runs. The Beatree set that I came up with like at the beginning of the game, and the like Lumberry, just bulky Will-O-Wisp, take hits then rest it off set or whatever. And they all have Harvest. They're all annoying. The best way to deal with this is Noivern. Noivern does not mind a burn if it's the Beatree set, which hides behind a sub, Leech Seeds, Curses, and all that. Noivern has Infiltrator, and Trevenant dies to a Choice Specs Air Slash. May even die to either of these as well if you want to just experiment and run some calcs or whatever. But I'm pretty sure it dies to a Choice Specs Air Slash nonetheless. But yeah, that set's very annoying. However, Noivern pretty much completely stops it. It does not mind the burn. It can take a Shadow Claw, and then you can just drop a powerful hit from behind the sub and go from there. Another great Pokemon to use here is probably Chandelure. You have to watch out for the Shadow Claws they like to put on just as attacking moves, though. So be careful when switching into it. Make sure it's not going to Shadow Claw. Like, make sure you know he's going to substitute or try to Leech Seed or something. And then just drop, like, a Specs Infiltrator Shadow Ball. And that's all she wrote for poor Trevenant. So, yeah. So, I hope this was helpful to you guys, though. I know UU looks very scary now with these very dangerous threats. But all of these Pokemon counter them relatively well, if not outright just stop them completely. So I hope this was good for you guys. Hope this was educational, and I will see you later. Peace out.